Father, Mother, God, we give thanks for this opportunity to be open and receptive to the awareness of your presence. Feeling your love arise through us from our hearts into this moment. Being lifted and healed by your love. Being transformed by your love in this moment. And for this we give thanks. And together we say, Amen. Well, it's an interesting start to the day. Computers. So, Holy Father, I offer you a proposition here that the stuff that we see in the world that seems to be wrong, that seems to be off, that seems to be out of kilter for the good of all, is a result of the corruption of the divine aspects of ourselves. That is to say, we talked about the divine aspects of the feminine on Mother's Day. And so we talk about the divine aspects of the masculine today. And that as we look upon the stuff, we can recognize that that is because some aspect of the divine within ourselves is corrupted. Not necessarily within us, but within someone, perhaps within many. And that the only thing that we can control is to perfect, to purify those aspects of the divine in us so that we, number one, see the world right rather than trying to set it right. And number two, that we allow ourselves to be forgiving, releasing, not in control, not insisting upon control. Well, today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers and would-be fathers, and happy Father's Day to all of you women who are expressing the divine masculine. And you know, we all have both aspects of the divine in us, right? The divine masculine and the divine feminine. When I pray and when I offer prayer, my prayer begins with Father, Mother. And there is a reason for that. It is not calling forth some Father, Mother out there, but rather it's calling forth the Father, Mother within me. And so as I get in touch with that divine aspect of myself, I acknowledge both the divine and the feminine aspect, the masculine and the feminine aspects of self. Well, how many of you had a perfect relationship with your father? Oh, you would have to raise your hand, of course. I'm assuming that the rest of you that didn't raise your hands have an opportunity to forgive your fathers in some way or another. I know I have opportunities to forgive my father. I know that my daughter has opportunities for her to forgive her father. And this process of forgiveness of fathers, I've said before that the Father's Day and Mother's Day talks are very difficult because there is such a wide spectrum of experiences that people have in a community with their fathers, and it's difficult to provide a talk that is going to embrace all of those experiences. But let me say that if we consider that the challenges that we have had with our fathers is the result of both the imperfection of the divine masculine in them as well as the imperfection of the divine masculine in us. So I'm going to be talking about the divine masculine today, and I'm going to only tangentially connect it to the teachings of Jesus, but you'll see as we come along here. First of all, my clicker. Thank you. All right. So, in any portrayal of the divine masculine, there are going to be a number of different traits that are offered. And so what I am offering here is just one perspective on the divine masculine, but from it we will be able to see how the corruption of this divine aspect of self leads to the trials and tribulations that we experience in life. As we look at the aspects of God, of priest, of king, of warrior, of lover, of sage, those aspects we're going to be talking about today. This first aspect, the divine masculine as represented as godness. That godness is a transcendence. It's a connection to all. In the perfected state, there is the awareness that we are, each and every one of us, connected to each and every other one of us. That we are connected to all life. In fact, we are connected to the planet itself. As we consider that this aspect of ourselves, this aspect that is yearning for this realization of transcendence, that this is the aspect of self that is demonstrating unconditional love. That is, that our love is not conditioned by conditions out there. It's not conditioned by situations or relationships or activities of others, but rather it is a love that comes and wells up from us, directly from the heart of God. This divine aspect of self is also that which seeds ideas that come from, as Plato would say, the realm of ideas. And this aspect of self lets go of these ideas, does not retain ownership, but rather offers these ideas without any requirement that they be acknowledged or that they be rewarded. As we look at the king aspect of self, this is the steward of those divine ideas. This aspect of self manages the realm of manifestation, of what comes into being. It is that aspect of self that is interested in seeing things appear and situations appear for everyone that is going to promote their well-being and their happiness. This is the aspect of self that embodies strength of character and noble action. It is that aspect of self which is the seat of integrity. This is also supportive and nurturing of those others with whom we engage. Whether it is a woman or a man, it is the divine aspect of the masculine king that is interested in offering and being a nurturer for all. And it is also that aspect of self that is comforting and is guiding in wise action. If we look at the priest is that spiritual awareness and insight. It is that aspect of self which is in touch with that connection that we have to spirit. It is that aspect of self which is interested in seeing that this experience is available to all. And it is that aspect of self that nurtures that relationship between spirit and personality. And then we look at the warrior. The warrior is decisive, clear thinking, selfless in service, genuine in humility. This aspect of self is what we would consider to be that which is that stands up for and embodies that perfection of strength and courage. And the sage. The sage is an expression of the priest in this world. Okay, so the priest is concerned about that inner experience, and the sage is concerned about how that relates to our actions in the world. And then last, lover. This is the aspect of self, the divine aspect that infuses spirit with the desire, the prompting engagement, and erotic expression. Erotic not just in the sexual sense, but in the passionate sense. And so this is the primal energy of passion, the exquisite engagement with life, an ecstatic being, an alive and vivid worldview is held by this aspect of self. So we have these various aspects of self. And I'd like to go back and I'd like to look at each of these and see what, if I can reverse fast enough, King, God. All right. If this aspect of self is corrupted, what do you see as the result in the world? What do you see that the corruption of that inner self that strives for transcendence and connection with all? What's the opposite of that? Separation, differentiation. We see in Charleston, we see separation and differentiation, right? We see that aspect of self that is corrupted, to say that, no, I'm not connected to everyone. No, I do not see myself as that, but I see myself as different from that. Not only different, but superior to that, right? And so when we look at the stuff in the world, whether it be the tragedies such as Charleston, or we see the activities of those around us, perhaps our own activities, where we are separating ourselves from others and lifting ourselves up above others and saying, I deserve this and you don't, we're talking about a corruption of that God aspect of the masculine energy. The king. What do you see as the corrupting, the results of the corrupting influence on the king? I still didn't hear. I'm sorry. Deceit. Yes. The nefarious politician. And I'm not just talking about those that occupy seats in the State House or in Washington. I'm talking about the politician within us, right? The ones that are trying to arrange things to the betterment of self. And here is so we have the integrity of the divine self, and we have the deception and lack of integrity of this corrupted self. When we look at the priest, what is the corruption of this energy? Isis? Okay? I'm sorry? Please. Ego. Well, it is an aspect of ego, and certainly ego flows through all of this. I see the ego as being the corrupted God energy, okay? But the God energy is influencing all of this. So indeed, ego is. Here I see this as being that aspect of self which says that I know better than you, my beliefs are superior to yours, I'm right, you're wrong, and if you don't believe me, if you don't follow my actions, I'm going to impose guilt and shame on you. So it's not the interface, it's not managing and nurturing that relationship between personality and spirit, but rather it is saying that my way is the only way and you must abide. Indeed, ISIS is a perfect example of how that manifests in the world. But don't leave it with ISIS, right? There's an ISIS in all of us. And it depends upon what we are involved in and who we're involved with as to whether or not that ISIS is going to come out in us. So the warrior. So what is the corrupted self here? It's greed, isn't it? Grabbing for all I can get because it's for me, rather than standing up in courage for all. It is standing up and saying, my way is the correct way. While I may have some insinuation of my relationship with the divine, I don't pay attention to it. I'm not interested in it. I'm going to grab for all I can get. And the sage. So here, the sage and the priest are very closely related. The sage being the outward expression and manifestation of that priest energy in activity in the world. So here is a similar. What is the corrupted lover? What do we see in the corrupted lover? We see a motivation towards sensual satisfaction, whether it be in food, in relationships, in any kind of desire that is brought forth to the point of addiction. It is desire that is manifested at least magnified to the point where it is all about bringing in those pleasures to me. I'm sorry. Insatiable. Yes. So as we look at the stuff of the world, and we see that these are really corrupted energies, what can we do? Within ourselves, we can say, well, okay, maybe I'm demonstrating that. Maybe in my seeing that out there, I need to look at what is in here that is seeing that out there. Now, this is one of the areas where people who are not familiar with New Thought will come down and criticize New Thought because it is, they think, about disengagement from out there, unwillingness to change what's out there. It's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that when we recognize that there is stuff going on out there, there is some part of ourselves that is primed to recognize that. And that as we reconsider what it is within ourselves that is primed to recognize and judge the correctness or incorrectness of that out there, we are now in a position to build our own awareness. And that's what we're in New Thought about, is building our own awareness, coming to the point where we are more and more an expression of that divine energy within us. That divine energy within us is there whether we recognize it or not. That divine energy within us is there for us to perfect whether we want to or not. That divine energy is there within us waiting for our being the expression. When Paul offered in Colossians, that is the Christ in you, your hope of glory, what he is talking about that divine energy in you that is there available for your expression if you choose. And if you choose, you will be able to. And if you are able to and you follow through, you will be glorified. You will be glorified in that ancient sense of the word glory. That ancient sense of the word glory is to be the emanation of divine energy. That's what it's about, is being the expression of the Christ. Being willing to step forth and be the expression of that divine energy in both its masculine and its feminine perspective. I don't know how many of you saw this, but there was a clip that was circulating of the hearing of the shooter in Charleston. He was brought before the court, and there were several families that were in the courtroom. He was, by televised link, he was in the jail. And you could hear in this video clip, you didn't see the faces of the family members, but you could hear in this video clip their expression of forgiveness. You've taken things from me. You've taken a relationship from me that I cherished and I will never have again. But I forgive you. We welcomed you into our prayer circle. We enjoyed you being with us for that hour. Yet you chose to take from us some of the most beautiful people that I know. Here's a family members so soon after the departure of their loved one being willing to step forth and release their hatred for this individual. You see, it's not about releasing him, right? He's in prison. He'll be in prison for the rest of his life, however long that's going to be. But it was for them to be released from the prison that their suffering and pain is causing. And when they chose to release themselves from that jail, they indeed were offered a freedom to be present and to be an expression of the divine in this moment. That is our opportunity. When we see stuff going on out there that we judge harshly, when we see stuff out there that we think is incorrect or inappropriate, even such as Charleston's shooting, when we see stuff out there, we have the opportunity to remain imprisoned by our judgments of that out there. We have the opportunity to remain imprisoned by the judgments of what's going on in here. Or we can release ourselves from that imprisonment by offering forgiveness, unconditional love, releasing, letting go, allowing the situation to be as it is, and perhaps we're called upon to do things to move our feet in response to what is going on out there. But if we move our feet motivated by the divine energy within us, we will be far more effective than if we move our feet based upon the hatred or the ill will or the corruption of the divine energies in us. This is about being available, being open and receptive to the expression of the divine through us. As we look upon the relationship with our fathers, and we recognize that that stuff that we seem to hold against our fathers is something that is all about a lack of understanding, either on our part or on his part, of the relationship with the divine. At that point, we can say, lack of understanding. I understand that because I can relate to that. I know that I have a lack of understanding. I know that I'm continually growing. I know that those actions that he perpetrated that seemed to be so evil or so out of character or so inappropriate was just a lack of understanding of our relationship with the divine, of his relationship with the divine. And with that, we can release. With that, our relationship can be resolved. And with that, we can look upon our fathers as being an imperfect, but nonetheless present expression in one way or another of the divine energies that we each and every one of us have. That's what spiritual growth is all about. It's about releasing the old, inappropriate, unproductive thoughts and allowing ourselves to come into the perfection of that Christ is within us. We can be that expression of Christ. No matter what happened in the last moment, no matter what we fear in the next moment, in this present moment, we can be the expression of the Christ. And so it is. We'll have our meditation. As we settle into this moment, breathing in and breathing out, allowing this moment to be free of the baggage of the last, allowing this moment to be unencumbered by the concerns for the next. We breathe in this moment. We relax into the willingness to be the expression of the divine right now. What does that feel like? Unconditional love, courage, connection with all, awareness of our true nature, passionate, willingness to be a guide in this world. Allow those feelings to arise within you, to express from you, not necessarily as words, but rather just as beingness. Be the love. Be the courage. Be the guide. Be the facilitator of spirit in this experience. Be passionate. And release. Release your expectations of how things need to be. Release your requirements of who deserves what. Release. Love. And in this awareness, we come back into our time and space, sharing the words of the Lord's Prayer.